for joining us today and joining the Fractional Talent Network.
Good morning, Kate. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background and expertise and what makes you unique.
Sure. Awesome. So I have 20 plus years of experience in large regulated financial services companies. Over the years, I have specialized in strategy, governance, risk, controls, and compliance areas. So if you think about how IT works, we have the plan, build, and run, usually how it's described. And I work with in all three of those areas, right? So planning, which is early on, strategic kind of thought process, building stuff, which is more of the architecture and engineering, and then the running is more of the operation side, right? So having done all three of those gives me a unique perspective to be able to provide that independent view, which in a lot of regulated companies, you do need an independent view over each of the teams and individuals that are planning and building and running things to make sure that you are staying consistent with your strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You are managing the risk along the way. You're putting in the right controls, and you end up compliant with your internal and or external mandates.
Perfect. I love that. Can you share with us a recent project or achievement example of your work?
Yeah, glad to. So I've recently come back from an expat role with a $30 billion asset bank in the Middle East and UK. So if you think about a lot of the stuff I just mentioned, I picked an example that kind of touches on all of those, right? So and a big one that a lot of companies worry about, ransomware in the cybersecurity space. So with the bank, we had the same concerns. No one wants to get hacked or breached or got stuck in ransom or get stuck in with the ransomware. What we wanted to look at is not just the security controls to prevent and detect a ransomware attack, but also how well we're equipped to recover from it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you think about it, this is something that not just the information security team has to look at, but also our IT counterparts and our digital development organization. So I was brought in as a leader to help oversee this overall effort. So what we did is we assessed the security controls, first of all, to make sure we're detecting and preventing these kinds of attacks. But also, we did an effort to understand our recovery capabilities. So, for example, we did a tabletop exercise where we brought all of these stakeholders at the table, and I developed a scenario for a ransomware attack and walked the team through it. And through their responses, not mine, but their responses of how they would react to such an attack, we determined that our expected recovery time was over 4 days. Right? And that really got the whole executive team's attention. Right. So then I worked with my team to kind of build a roadmap and plan to address a lot of those areas where we can reduce that time, and ended up reducing the expected recovery time by about 75%.
Wow.
So that's an example I would give. But there's others. You can have a risk and controls framework for. I've done that for, again, financial institutions where you might look at cloud adoption or transformation or even AI governance or experimentation.
That's
nowadays.
A good point and plug for your other video that you did with Scott Gerard on responsible AI and governance. So check out that video that Rami and Scott did together as a collab.
Yeah, awesome. Or it could be just security capabilities and tooling, right? So it could be SIM or SOC updates, or even identity and access governance.
Perfect. Yeah, I think security is the fear of companies, and security is what it motivates them to spend money to protect themselves and to buy. And a lot of identity management and access and prevention. And you mentioned risk, governance, compliance, prevention as well, right?
Exactly. And what I've found is the smarter companies do it for strategic reasons. So yes, it's compliance, and also just winning customer trust,
Yeah.
and being that company that takes security and risk seriously.
Right, because we don't want to be part of a breach where people now have access to our bank accounts or our social security numbers.
Exactly.
So, Rami, why fractional? Why fractional talent? Why fractional consulting?
Yeah, as I came back from my expat role, recently resigned and came back for family reasons, I was very fortunate to meet the group here, Fractional Talent, yourself, Kate, and a lot of others. What I found is that the skills that I just described, there's others that have complementary skills that they bring to the table. So I really like the fractional talent model because um, you can provide services and offer a lot to companies that may not otherwise have access to this level of talent if they either just don't want to at this point or can't afford a full-time person to do a lot of these things. Through the fractional talent network, we can still offer these same capabilities and advisory services to these clients without having to hire a full-time person. And so it's a mix of governance, risk, and compliance capabilities that might be paired with a lot of my other friends and colleagues, as you know, that could bring in their specialty.
Yeah. Wow. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think what we're building here is really unique and special, and putting these teams of experts, industry and technology expertise together at a teamed approach, collaborative approach, and flexible solution to meet a growing company's budget and time constraints. Like the pairing of you and Scott that we referred to, the responsible AI and governance and risk around AI, and just tackling some of those business challenges in a creative, flexible, solutioning way, and giving those companies access to expert talent that, like you said, they may not have had access to previously outside of our model. So I love
Absolutely.
that. Well, thank you,
Absolutely.
Rami. We're excited to have you as part of Fractional Talent and our Fractional Talent Network. And stay tuned for more awesome webinars and TED Talks and papers from people like Rami and Scott and others in our network. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.